Okay. One Piece chapter 1118. I had to stop for a second. Normally, when I do these blind reactions, like my first thing is to cut the microphone on and just give you my immediate thoughts right then and there. I had to take a second and I don't want to say collect my thoughts so much as compose myself. Because Bonney mimicking Gear 5, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I understand in universe, it makes a lot of sense, and you could even argue it was foreshadowed because, she had the fascination with Nika, and just due to how her ability works, like, it kind of makes sense. She's a free spirit in a lot of ways, like Luffy. I get it. I just kind of felt some kind of way seeing that. Like, it's not because it's a woman or anything. Like, it's not that. It's just more, again, I know it's explained in terms of it being part of her ability, but damn, man. Like, it kind of makes Luffy's Gear 5 seem less special. And I want to see how it plays out. It might just be the perception, she looks like Gear 5 Luffy, but doesn't have necessarily the powers. And if she has it, she low-key has the most broken devil, because if she can mimic something like that, Bonney will be a monster. So let me back up, because there's quite a bit to go into, and I like how Oda is just leaning heavier and heavier into the fact that, like, there are some people that are beginning to wake up to, hey, the world government, they might not necessarily be the good guys in the story. So we open up the chapter where you see the Iron Giant and is falling into the sea, and Vegapunk's message is still playing, and you have Joy Boy being referenced by the Iron Giant. He's like, I could sense that you were here. I really wanted to see you. That was clearly a nod towards Luffy, but all around the world, people asking questions. They're going, Vegapunk was not finished talking, so where's the rest of the message? And even though the elders were able to stop it from being transmitted, Vegapunk had arguably planted the seeds for a revolution on a bigger stage now. And what I like about that is that when they're talking, some people are saying, maybe the world government assassinated him, because he did cross a line. Somebody floated that out there, like, you don't think that they erased him, do you? And the other half, they're going, well, Straw Hat Luffy was holding him hostage. And it's kind of funny how even as that's going on, you just see how much of a grip that the world government has, that even out there at Dressrosa, where people should know better, you see it was like, hey, you don't think Luffy killed him, do you? And I like how Rebecca, like, she immediately shuts that down. She's like, there's no way. Like, I like that we did get that tidbit from Rebecca where she immediately stood up, and it makes me look at it from the perspective, I do think that we're probably going to be in a situation where all those princesses that Luffy end up coming into contact with in the past, they're all going to end up standing up for him. Because again, it's not by mistake that he is going into all these different kingdoms. Again, I think I see where Oda's taking this. Like, I might be wrong. But I think I see where he's taking that part. But that being said, I am like a little disappointed in Leo that he even suggested, but it kind of makes sense. Again, the world government, not everybody views them the way that we do as the audience, because they don't have the luxury we do. Now, the other thing that we get is that I like how, like, the elders, they're asking York, how many of the Vegapunks are still out there? And she says, like, hey, there are only 2 of them left that are synced to the punk records, and that being Lilith and it being Atlas. And she gives her location, snitches them out. But the interesting thing is that as they're talking, they're going, we only really need to have one genius. And it's because they have leverage over York. And it's sad in a way. And yet at the same time, it does make sense. Life is, again, about what you can leverage. And she's in a very good position. You can manipulate her. She wants to be a celestial dragon. She's thinking more about herself. And yet at the same time, it just kind of sends like a messed up message about humanity. And, One Piece has done this in the past. Not every character is a embodiment of what we should aspire to be. You have characters like York, who, as she is right now, she may get redeemed in the future, but as she is right now, she's a reminder of the other side of humanity. You know, there are those of us who will just do whatever's in our best interest in order to secure our own future, secure our own legacy, if you will, even if it means betraying people you might call family. Like that, I say us just as saying humanity in general. I would never do that, but it's one of those things like Oda, that's a very bold way of talking about the human experience, but you know, you can't really argue with the logic of that. Now, the next thing we get is we see Luffy and he's on the ship, and you got Dorry and Brogy, and they're getting ready to set sail. You have Doll and Bluegrass Bluegrass, and they're like, man, you know, we can't let them get out of here. We got all these ships here. And you have Sanji trying to get into contact. Sanji's like, look, man, you know, Nami, like, this is what's going on. He's calling out to try and save Robin and Lilith. You got Usopp with the humor, like, no, dummy, you're supposed to save all of us. Typical Sanji simp mode. And what I find interesting is that as Sanji is checking in on Nami and asking what their status is, and she's saying like, hey fam, we're getting ready to jump off the clouds, but we might not reach the water. We're gonna need your help. Again, it's the humor and it's the dynamics. And I know, like, just kind of interacting with some of you guys in the comment section that, you know, and reading the comments, because I try not to reply too much to not get spoiled, but just kind of like reading comments. Like, I know some people don't really like the Straw Hat interactions. I love it. You know, I love the way Oda does dialogue and how he continues to just build on what we have. And anytime you get this crew, the way that they're written so well is like you can plug any one of them into a situation, any two, and they're just going to naturally play off of each other. And as a writer, you want that because you strike gold there, because you have an endless source of conflict. Like when you put Sanji and Zoro there, you have the rivalry, but you also have the comedic goal. You have Sanji and Nami, you have the simping. But say if you put Sanji and Frankie together, that's a whole nother dynamic that you can explore something else. So, I mean, I like that, and I'm just using Sanji as an anchor, but you can swap any of the Straw Hats in. There's just so many ways they can bounce off each other. Now, the next thing we get here is Oda decides to start putting his foot on the gas. And the way that he does it is, you know, he gives us a little bit of the humor because Luffy is pigging out. He's getting his strength back. But at the same time, you have Dorry and Brogy, and they're standing up to Mars because Mars is trying to just take everything out. And it makes sense. Like when you look at what's on the ship that they got to deal with, you know, you got Luffy there, but you also have Bonney there, and you have Vegapunk's corpse, and you also have Kuma there. So there's a lot that you want to try and get in terms of loose ends. So that was a smart play. And what I like here is that Mars is letting it be known you're not going to escape. And that's when Luffy pops up in his Gear 5. And he's replenished his strength, and he's asking Bonney to help him out. And I like that even though Bonney has this overpowered ability she has, even though Luffy is saying, like, I have faith in you, you can help me, she's hesitating. And she's hesitating because she sees how powerful the elders are. You're seeing a bit of a mental nerve right here by Bonney. And I like how one of the things we get is Luffy's encouragement. It's in line with what you expect with Joy Boy, especially just given what we just heard about Joy Boy. And it's also in line about what we heard, like in terms of how people view Nika the sun god. And it's as like you're hearing the rhythm and etc. And what makes this work is that Luffy has inspired something in her. And you just see the flashbacks, you see the hope building up inside of her. And it's almost like a crescendo the way that Oda is building towards that reveal where Bonney is tapping into Gear 5. And I like how as she's in that form, and you got Luffy and he's laughing, etc., because it's Gear 5, the silliness, you also get the shot of Kuma. And it looks like he's looking up at his daughter as this is taking place. And you just see the callback to Jenny, his wife. And it's almost heartbreaking to see that. And yet at the same time, it just pays off so many plot lines. And Mars's reaction, it tells you everything. It tells you everything because he already does not like Luffy. He hates what Kuma's done in terms of the betrayal, but then you have Bonney and this potential. And it's like, it's exactly what Aokiji said. Like, I know Bonnie's not part of the Straw Hats, but for all intents and purposes, she is an ally. Luffy's crew was too dangerous to be allowed to live. Because had Aokiji just killed the Straw Hats at Long Island or Ring Island, whichever one's called, but had he killed them after they had the Foxy battle, none of this would have happened. Bonney never would have got to this point. So much happened here. And again, I know Aokiji has its own motives and etc. Like there's more to it than just what was shown at the time. He was introduced as a villain, and now we know like Aokiji in terms of admirals might be one of the better ones, or at least at the time he might have been one of the better ones because he's in Blackbeard's crew, and we also know that he's got the connection to Garp and etc. But you know the elders, even though they won't admit it, they know that their grasp, it is starting to slip. Vegapunk has set things in motion. And the fact that they think that they destroyed the Iron Giant and they didn't, and the Iron Giant is sensing the presence of not just Luffy, but also Bonney. Oda's going somewhere very bold with this. Very bold. Like, again, normally I would like this chapter. Like, I don't hate it. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate it. But like, normally I would like this chapter and praise it more. But it's like just seeing Bonney in that form, like, I don't know, it feels cheap. And again, I know that there's a payoff for it. So it's one of those things, like, I know I got to trust Oda here, but, you know, this is part of the beauty of just me doing the blind reaction. You know, you get my immediate thoughts right after. And even after taking a couple minutes to just wrap my head around what it is I just read, I don't have a good feeling about it. Like, I know that, like, because the Iron Giant looks like it's about to reappear and is being drawn in, that there's gonna be something more there. And the fact that Frankie's on that ship, like, I see where Oda's going with it. Like, I see torches being set up to be passed, or at least I think that's where he's going. But I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm not a fan of it. I'm gonna end this one off here, but I do want to know how you guys feel down in the comment section. When you got to this point in the story, did you have the same reaction as me? Maybe I'm overreacting. If I'm overreacting, let me know. I'm going to be very curious to just read the comments on this one, just to make sure I didn't jump the shark or something, you know, because I know there are times where I have a tendency to be a victim of the moment, you know, like when Luffy and Ace were teaming up at Marineford. You know, you guys laughed at me on the original channel because I was dumb enough to think that they're going to beat the 3 admirals. So I know there are times I get caught up in the moment. So maybe, you know, this was just me. I read it in a bad mood, or I don't know. Maybe I missed something. So let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.